Bugs all around me. Yo, what's going on? It's someone that's no one, and welcome to the second day of the Delirium special for 2019 on this channel. Today's report is coming from an unknown user off the Psychonaut wiki. When this happened was mid-August of 2017. The drugs used was diphenhydramine, gender, male. The dose was 550 milligrams. Prior experience, he's done Benadryl in the past at a dose of 400 milligrams, and where this all happened was in his room. So this is a pretty eventful Benadryl trip, and a lot of creepy stuff does pop up. Sure, you guys are going to like it, so let's dive right into it. I left my boxing lesson that night to go home, and midway home I thought to myself that I'll probably be bored and I should experiment with Benadryl. I have done it in the past at 400 milligrams, and that was a very interesting trip, so I decided to add an extra 150 milligrams. I head to my local Rite Aid and buy the Benadryl. I am not sure if the lady knew what I was up to, but she just went on with her business. I get home and dose myself a few hours later. Start. I dose myself with 550 milligrams of diphenhydramine and resume talking to a friend on Discord. 30 minutes in. I do not really feel anything major at this time, but I am starting to feel a bit weird. It's like my hands feel very lightweight and they shorten in length. I remember feeling this on my first trip at 400 milligrams, so I know I was coming up. 1 hour in. Hallucinations are starting to form at this point. The corners of my room became darker, and some objects would become larger if I stare at them for some time. 1 hour 20 minutes in. The hallucinations have kicked up a notch, and the drifting is more profound now. I also start to see inanimate objects become autonomous. I have a marble spider hanging off my ceiling, and it would start to move like it was alive. 2 hours in. Shadow people are becoming more apparent. Tall ones. They're about 8 feet tall. They do not look hostile. They seem to not be aware that I exist. 2 hours 20 minutes in. At this point, I am hearing my mother and her friend chatting loudly downstairs when my mom is sleeping, and it's about 1 to 2 a.m. It sounds so real though. I even heard one of them coming upstairs. I also start to see tiny spiders on my arm if I stare at it. 2 hours 45 minutes in. I stare at my right forearm and I start to see my fist looks like a toy that's been disconnected from my wrist. Then I saw a large red bug crawl on me, looked like a mix of a cockroach and a ladybug. I start to see papers on the floor move on their own and slightly hover in the air whilst vibrating intensely. 3 hours in, I start to see spiders on my curtains, small ones, the same color as my curtains. After a while, they start to crawl and some launch onto me. The spiders only occur when the room is dark. When I look at myself in the mirror, I start to see thorns growing out of me and my eyes start bleeding. I look completely deformed in the mirror. Music sounds amazing. It just has this extra emotion to it, and it sounds faster due to the drowsiness. 3 hours 45 minutes in. A clusterfuck of spiders on my curtains now. One giant one the size of my palm and hundreds of small ones, crawling over my curtains and some launching at me. They go away as I turn my mini lamp on. 4 hours in. I saw a ghostly figure of a firefighter with a blocky right arm walk through my door and towards me, disappearing once it got close. I also see hands behind me in my peripheral. A toy dinosaur. My brother starts to move its head and tail. It looks so real. 4 hours, 30 minutes in. I am overwhelmed and I decide to go to sleep, and the restless leg syndrome is the worst. I also seem to have a very weird internal hallucination. It's like I'm in a park and I can fly. However, the people around me seem very real, and I have full-on conversations with them, and I open my eyes and realize I hallucinated an entire park filled with families. I thought I was actually there. 5 hours in. Saw an old female at my door. She had a smile on her face, a lovely one, and started to change the position of the light switch all over the wall. I also noticed my door opening on its own and would close once I blink. Meanwhile, when it is open, I would see a shadow person with glowing eyes that aren't so bright, moving around the hallway. I do not remember the rest, but the hallucinations seem so real. I eventually fall asleep and wake up feeling like shit.